Good morning, everyone. This is Rama on Riding, coming to you live from a relatively hurricane-less Kailua Kona, Hawaii. We've been kind of in the summer doldrums. As I remember in Sedona, it gets very still and kind of hot and sticky, and that's really what it's like here in Hawaii right now. We did get a little bit of rain from the storm yesterday afternoon, and it did sound like we might get more. Luckily, nothing happened, and we look like we're going to dawn on a beautiful day. The sun hasn't come over the mountain yet, but it will soon. For those of you who just tuned in, next week we will be having an author interview with Mary Stevenson in her freshly published book, Falling Over Reno. And the week after that, we will be on sabbatical. Mary and I will be involved in the very large August riding retreat in Sedona. And it seems like we're still adding people, so I don't know if we're up to 70 yet, but we're pretty close. We're getting there. I'll be running the remote, so I'll actually be using Zoom the whole weekend, and I've determined that I can't do 2 webinars at once, although I have on occasion done so. This week, our topic was a growth from what we talked about last week, book clubs, bulk book sales, specialty sales, looking at perhaps some non-traditional marketing ideas for our books. And I'm not sure how all of our books fit into this this strategy for bulk sales. I've looked at my book and determined, well, yes, it does have some possibilities, and no, it doesn't have other possibilities. So I think we have some different restrictions in place. For those of you who are new to the book club world, I think that it was in 2000, well, actually, I can't remember what date it was. Let me see if I can pull this article up real quick. I had a great article up that talked about Oprah's book club, and darn it, I don't think I still have that article up. Well, the biggest book club of all time, I think, was Oprah Winfrey's book club. And all in all, I think there were 70 books that she recommended in that club. In all cases, the sales of those books went through the roof as a result of being selected by her for the book club. As I was thinking about this, in those case studies that I read about, they were not related to the print-on-demand books, that our books fall in that category. And so it is possible that if you were to get involved in a big book club, bulk sale, or specialty market, that you might have to actually go back to the traditional idea of doing a print run to reduce the cost of the book. That was one thing that I encountered a couple of times in various articles, is that the pricing for print on demand, even though, when I see that my book only costs $2 to print, that may not be cheap enough to leverage a bulk selling environment like a Costco, or even a national book club that does want to get books to their readers at a much cheaper price than market value. Now, in no cases, as I was reading these major articles, did they talk about ebooks as a way of getting books out there, but I would think that that would be a certainly a very inexpensive way to get books into the hands of the readers of the book club. And in special cases, we as authors could offer those books for free, since there is no continual production cost of ebooks. And your mind may say, well, why would I give a book away for free? And this is certainly a marketing strategy that has been effective. And at first, when we get our books available, it's hard to stomach a little bit. Oh, I'm giving this away for free. And then as a month to 3 months goes by, it starts to become more of a marketing tool that we use, because we realize that the word of mouth is the best seller that we have for our books. And the general statistic that's batted around is that for every book that somebody reads, they tell 5 or 6 people within 2 weeks period of time about that book. And so that could be a huge marketing push for us. The classic model is Seth Godin, who gave away 1 million copies of his ebook. And everyone said that he was crazy to do that. Well, he proved to them that it was a real smart business decision, because that turned into 3 million sales of the print version of that book. So one of the things that I think is important for us to budget for is some level of giveaways, whether we do it through a contest on our website or through Goodreads. I think Deb McTernan has done that a number of times, or whether we just have a strategy of getting books, giving away to people who we think, number one, will tell a lot of other people about it. Number two, provide us with that review or testimony on Amazon, or if not on Amazon, at least send us an email back saying, oh, I loved your book because of whatever reason that they have, in which case we can use that in our social media, on our website. We can at some point attach a front page to our book with testimonials on it, and a kind of a second printing idea. It's very simple to do those sorts of things. Well, let's talk for a minute about what a book club is. And maybe we've got some people on the line that have been members of a book club, and they can talk about their experience a little bit of actually, what happened. But, essentially, when an Oprah or a Zuckerman endorses a book, they influence a lot of people. And that's the key to getting sales, is to having recommendations by celebrities that, carry a lot of weight. There are book clubs that are generally associated with bookstores. And there was James Parker, there was a book club, one of the most successful, was started in, I think, East Texas or something like that. And when I read that, I thought, oh my, this might be a good one for James, since he's in that region. It started with one bookstore book club and has turned into 350 chapters international in LA. So these clubs do have a lot of sway with the readers. And how do we find book clubs? Well, we go back to our great friend Google and we plug in book clubs. And if we're in Atlanta, for example, we might put in book clubs in Atlanta. And we might come up with, a number of book clubs, maybe relating to bookstores, maybe relating to a club at the adult community center or something like that, where we can actually begin to plug in, Obviously you do need to be somewhat of a salesperson, so that you need to approach the creator or the person who's going to select the books, and you need to make that personal connection with them. Now, book clubs tend to have a set of questions that they tend to talk about after everyone reads the book. And this week, Lynn Cochran Murphy sent in questions for her book to put in the back of the book. Now, Lynn probably has been in book clubs before, so she got the idea that, oh, well, there are questions that people ask. And I may, as we move forward in this webinar, I may bring up her document so that we can kind of analyze it, take a look at it. But that's something that we can do to help market our book to a book club, is to include some questions that they could talk about to keep their discussions going. Many book clubs are just in somebody's living room, or it rotates in, from member to member's living room. It meets once a month, and people read a book and talk about a book. I remember my mom was an avid reader, and she used to go to these book clubs, and they'd talk about the books. It seems like a great form of social engagement. And, so a strategy might be to look for book clubs in your area and to join them, become part of the group. If you think about it, boy, these are all readers, regardless of whether the book gets selected for the book club per se. If these people are all readers that are attending, they are a market for us. So we could use, them, they'll tell their friends. So, one of the ways to get into this kind of environment is to be a joiner. As I was reading about this, I thought, well, maybe we should emulate, Tom Bird's book club and feature, a book each month, and create something like that. Of course, adding more work to my plate isn't going to go anywhere. And, Mary, is as overloaded as I am. So, we would, need to rely on, someone in our community to start the ball rolling with this sort of thing. And it might just be easier to plug into an existing program in your community. Many of you have asked, well, how do I promote my book once I have it? And, this is a great way of doing it. If you've never checked out something called meetups, there are, meetups are different group meetings that are listed on the Meetup website, and there are writers groups and book clubs in a lot of communities. So this could certainly be a resource for us to check out and become involved. Now, the second part of the topic today relates to specialty sales or bulk book sales. When I wrote up the title for the webinar, I think I used bulk book sales, and as I started to do research, a lot of the terminology was related to specialty bookstores. So I thought I'd take a stab at the specialty market a little bit, and then move to some of the bulk opportunities. My book is a specialty book about mountain biking. So it is easier for me to get my books into mountain bike shops. It's easier to do that than to perhaps get them into bookstores. Although in a community like Sedona, there are lots of opportunities. There's a lot of little stores, a lot of tourists, and those little store owners are always looking for something unique to have in their store. Most of them have some books, whether they feature a lot of books or not, probably not. But those little specialty stores would be a market for me. So if I went to Uptown Sedona and started to, look at, who's there and what are they selling, I might find a couple of stores there that would give my book a spot. In that case, I would consider getting 5 books into the store a good opportunity, and I would probably put them in under a consignment, or I would sell them outright at a wholesale price to that store. But I wouldn't necessarily have them order that book. I would deliver it. Okay, the personal touch. It is a simpler way to get that book in the door, or your foot in the door. Now, some of these stores that are more into books and have a main shelving of books would possibly opt to order the books through the Ingram book catalog. And even though we use CreateSpace as our print-on-demand fulfillment house, one of the features of their expanded distribution is that your book will be in the Ingram book catalog. And it does take 5 or 6 weeks from your initial distribution point to get into that catalog. And unfortunately for us, those catalog sales net us a very low profit level. So if we were to get $5 for an Amazon sale on our book, we might get only $2 for an Ingram catalog sale. So in that case, boy, it might be better for us to actually physically sell those books to some of those small specialty shops in our community. Now, as I mentioned, in Sedona, we have tourist shops, we have bike shops. Those would be, interesting for, a mountain bike book about Sedona. But you may not live in a tourist-based community. Where would you go to look for some specialty sales? Well, there are many of our group writes what I'd call self-help type of books, and self-help type of books could be featured in some, yoga shops, crystal stores, health food stores. As a health food store owner in the past, I ordered a significant number of books. There are specialty book distributors. So for people whose books fall into that, let's say that health food market, new age market, there are specific distributors that run a catalog. And, as a health food store, I did not ever get in touch with the Ingram book catalog. That was not something I even knew existed. But I knew a company called New Leaf Distributions, which was all kind of new age yoga, tai chi, meditation, health food type books. And there was another one, I think it's called Redline Press. One was in Atlanta and one was in Boston. And those were just 2 places that I found rather quickly, but there's probably a whole host of other ones. So another marketing avenue is a small book distributor. In Arizona, there was one, it was called Northern Arizona Book Distributors, and it was kind of an outdoorsy type book, hiking books, biking books, Arizona history type books. And they would come to my bike shop once a month. And, they would look, oh, we gave you 5 of these books. You sold 3 of them. We'll give you 3 more. And, they do kind of the inventory management. That's how they earn their commission. Besides, bringing the books to the stores specifically, they also manage the inventory levels. And it's quite a simple process. There are little places like that all throughout America that service different sorts of stores. Again, the best way to track those down would be to do a Google search, maybe specialty book distributors in Santa Fe area or in New Mexico or in Atlanta. Sometimes it does help to identify the location that you're looking at and start locally. You probably have more ability to gain interest locally. But the bottom line is when you're working with the specialty marketplace, you would probably it would probably be more beneficial for you to try to make some personal contacts and get yourself known by those people. And who knows, you might find an opportunity in a bike shop, a specialty gift store, to do a book signing, to show up on a Saturday or a Sunday and, use some advertising. A lot of times these places have quite a mailing list. And you may be able to create some momentum behind your own book. It's hard to ask a small specialty shop to exert a lot of effort for you about your book. So you kind of have to take the ball and go with it. I'm going to just unmute Tom Carroll here and ask him a question. And I have to apologize. I'm getting a little feedback from Tom's channel, so it's a little bit of an echo in there. Tom, when we initially had some of our meetings and talked about your book and some of your marketing ideas, you mentioned that you were friends with the gal that owns, I think, Sedona's only bookstore anymore. Have you gotten your book in there? Have you approached her about a book signing or anything like that?
Yeah, she's taken 2 orders now, and they've sold. We haven't talked for a while, kind of let it drop. A couple of things are interesting there. Her book sales have dropped off markedly, the Amazon phenomenon. But she still does sell some books. The other thing that's interesting is that the books sort of flew off the shelves when we did an interview. They have an extensive email list, and people listen to a weekly show that they used to do. So she interviewed me, and in a similar fashion to being mentioned by Oprah or anyone else, anyone who has a following of any size, the size of that following is going to directly translate into the number of books you get sold. So anyway, to answer your question, yes, it did go on our shelves, and fortunately, yes, it did sell. Interesting note was, though, that the extra mention, the interview, was what really drove it.
Thank you, Tom. That's really a great response to hear. So, we do need to drive our sales, regardless of whether we're going to piggyback onto someone else's marketing channel. We still drive the sales. And one of the things about that is that even if we were to get picked up by a Hay House or something like that for our book, and they promised us the moon, we would still need to drive the sales channel. Okay, that's one of the things that many authors don't quite grasp. They think that if they do get picked up by a specialty publisher, I think they call them a vanity publisher is what the term is, I think. We still are going to be much more successful if we drive the sales. So everyone online here, you are your best salesperson. And although everyone thinks, boy, it would be great to hire somebody to do this for us, generally we're left to push the sales market. Okay, so specialty sales does offer, a perfect opportunity for many of us. And I've mentioned, kind of the new age type of specialty sales. I've mentioned, my case being a mountain biking book, bike stores, and perhaps some tourist shops. But where do the rest of us fit in, and why and how? How can we get our books in there? And I did mention, James Parker a little bit, who has written stories that take place in Texas and New Mexico. Well, James has an opportunity to pursue that, stores in New Mexico where he lives could be gallery type stores. And one of the things that many of us have in our community is, a gallery walk once a month in Sedona. It's called the First Friday Art Walk or something like that. And the gallery district is open at night, and people come down, and some of the galleries offer wine. They might have a special exhibit going on. But many of these galleries are looking for something extra. And so if you teamed up with them and said, hey, look, can I get a table in your gallery for the art walk and talk about my book and have copies for sale? Well, that could be an opportunity. And there's a number of matches that could work for you if your cover is similar to a piece of artwork that they have in their gallery. Well, that would be kind of a foot in the door. In James Parker's case, it could be a regional book relating to a regional theme that a gallery has. Mary Stevenson book has the name Reno in the cover. So, even though she doesn't live in Reno, a marketing idea for her might be to start looking at small bookshops in Reno or something like that and say, wow, we have to sometimes think outside of the box because we don't have a lot of help here, gang, and we're looking for a break. Okay, so specialty small bookstore market is certainly an avenue that many of us can pursue. We have I don't think I have Lauren on the line, but she's written a medical book. I have another a medical related book that's moving through the timeline, publishing timeline right now. Well, doctors' offices, waiting rooms in some medical insurance places. Like I think the one that's going through the timeline now is she works for one of the big companies, insurance providers, and if she can knock on that door of the big buyer behind that, and her book is not inflammatory to the organization, well, she might have a wonderful opportunity to market her book through that avenue. And no, it doesn't apply to a number of you novel writers out there, and I see that we have quite a few of them today. I'm not sure exactly where, you can get that foot in the door other than in the smaller book um, bookstores market. So you might have to search around a little bit further. Now, this is taking us into the next component of our discussion, which is bulk book sales. And when I say bulk, I'm meaning big time deals. How do you get your book inside a Costco? Well, they mention that generally you have to first get in front of the right person and ask them. They probably get a lot of people that approach them about getting books into the Costco, and they are, they are approachable. So we can take that start and put a list together of places like that to find out, well, who do I talk to? And, is there an opportunity there? They said, generally a lot of those sales are more, I want to say more commercial, but that's probably not the right term. Um, if there's a regional sort of component to your book, you might be able to get into a regional Costco. If your book were about a movie that's coming out or something like that, or like a movie that's coming out, well, then you might be able to leverage that component to get interest with with their purchaser. A lot of times, they'll try something out, 5 books, see how quickly they roll out through a store. There are libraries. I've often thought about giving some of our books to the Sedona Public Library and allowing them to have it. But ultimately, if we could make connections with, a library organization in our state, well, they may purchase quite a few books from us. So, yeah, Tom?
Let me drop in. I look specifically into the Costco deal, as some of the rest of you may have. Years ago, I sold a food product to Costco, and it amounted to a direct approach to their corporate headquarters up in Everett, I think it was. Things changed since then. Books specifically, they have a protocol, and you can read that online. And for those who haven't, I'd encourage everybody to do that. And it ends up kind of being an individual effort. They look at things like your sales to date, your other stats, your Twitter following, and indications that your book's going to be a good selling. However, just to get it started, you can read their requirements, and you can make that effort, and you might be one of the lucky ones.
Well, what Tom is really saying is that if you don't try these things, you certainly won't succeed without trying. And for every failed sale, that just gets us closer to the next success. What is possible? There are universities that have a lot of literature classes, fiction writing classes, business classes. I mean, there may even be mountain bike classes. And if I was writing an instructional book, there'd be a possibility for that to become a university curriculum. And so if you get yourself into one college curriculum, that can go a long ways for sales. I mean, generally, 30 to 50 books, depending upon how big the college is. I mean, if the class is a 500-person class, that would be 500 books that would have to be read in order to meet the requirement of that class, and all. And then you can take the approach, and I think I saw Dennis online for a bit. He may have dropped out. I think that he may have some internet problems. Sometimes he's up in Pine, which is a little rural area. But what Dennis does is he actually gets in front of elementary school teachers. He was a fourth grade teacher, and his biggest marketing efforts have been teaching the kids, getting on a yearly or twice yearly program with certain teachers. And Dennis had great success in the first year. He would just offer the books up for the kids at a very good price, like $5 a book, and they would buy them. And then as he moved into his second season, he found that the teachers would be able to utilize the school budget to buy 30 books for the class at a time. So, these are the opportunities that we can all take a look for and kind of sort through, well, what specific areas, relate to our book? What opportunities are there for our books? And if we are going to be spending time in a sales effort, wouldn't it be better to get 30 sales out of that pitch than just one sale out of that pitch? So this is an opportunity where we can benefit from our time more effectively. So schools, colleges, galleries, specialty stores. These are all possible avenues for us to take a look at for marketing our books. And beyond that, we do have the bookstore phenomenon. And although the general rule of thumb, certainly with the big chains, and I think actually there's probably only one big chain anymore, Barnes and Nobles, it's hard to break into a Barnes and Nobles, but in Phoenix, for example, it might be easy to break into a Changing Hands bookstore, which might be the most popular bookstore in the Phoenix area. And that doesn't mean it's the biggest, but it is a very popular bookstore that does have events going on. Tom speaks at a bookstore in Prescott. I don't know if he dropped off books, his books for that bookstore or not, but, these are possibilities that we can all pursue. And, many times working with a small bookstore, there could be an opportunity for a book signing as well. And, unfortunately, some of these bookstores have a cost that we do need to pay in order to do a book signing in their store. Now, along with that cost, generally they will provide a level of marketing for us. So if we were to go to Changing Hands bookstore, and I think last time I checked, it was $300 to essentially get a book signing in Changing Hands bookstore. In return, they marketed through their mailing list and through some of their newsletters that you would be there on a certain day to do a book signing. And these kind of things can certainly go to get the word out that you have a book, and you could read part of the book at a book signing. You could do all kinds of things like that. Now, one of the things that this does lead me to is the online version of a book signing tour. And many of you have heard this term. It's called a book blog tour. Now, when I first heard that term, my mind said, oh, this is a place where I can post my blogs about my book. And I didn't realize that that really wasn't what the term referred to. It really refers to a movement that basically these are websites that talk about books, okay? And what the strategy is that a book blog website A, for example, will provide you the opportunity for a week to be basically do webinars, do question and answers, maybe do a book reading, do an interview. And it could be several days during a particular week. And essentially you're marketing to the people that are coming on a regular basis to that website to learn about new independent books. And there are a huge number of these websites out there, a huge number. And there are companies out there that will organize your book blog tour. And they are not cheap. I think the least expensive one we found was about $700. And in doing that, they would get you in front of various different book blogs for a month or 2 months or 3 months, however long the $700 fee lasts. I think that was a month program. And they would get you in front of 5 or 6 different blogs in a way that you would be talking about your book and maybe about your writing process, and people would get to know you. And they would purchase books, whether you offer them at a discount or not. I never got quite that far. At one point, we did quite a bit of research about book blog tours, and there was a provider that we used for a while when we were doing some search engine optimization work for the authors, whose next step was to do a book blog tour for the authors. And I think there were several authors that did that process, and they were moderately successful from it. So this is the modern day book signing tour, where you don't need to leave your living room. You can just plug into webinars like this and talk about your book and hopefully sell some as a result of it. It's not altogether different than when I am going to interview Mary Stevenson next week, and we're going to talk about her book, and we're going to coordinate Mary with her launch, which happens the following week. So if we create a little buzz behind the interview, we're likely to give Mary some momentum. So maybe, in effect, we're starting our own book blog tour environment. Jean, do you have a question? Yes.
Yeah. When is the best time to put the book on a book blog tour? Is it before launch or after launch, or does it matter?
Generally, it's kind of a momentum grower. So some book blogs want to catch you very, very early in the process when the book is just fresh out, and some aren't that concerned. There is a huge amount of demand to be part of a book blog tour, and each of these websites has their own criteria as to what qualifies an author to go through this. Now I'm going to unmute Tom again, because he encountered something kind of interesting. Tom, can you tell us about the site you found that would do a review if your book was pre-launch? Do you remember that?
Yeah, the organization is Forward, F-O-R-E, Forward. It's Forward Magazine. They're out of Traverse, Michigan. And they are indie friendly. In fact, they're specifically geared to the independent publisher. However, how to say this? It's difficult with them in that they want your book 2 or 3 months before you release it, to Amazon. So in a lot of our cases, we're editing our books, right up to that day. We push the button with create space or however somebody might do it. They ended up refusing to do mine because Amazon screwed up and said that my book had been out all the way back into the summer. So somehow in their business model, they want really fresh stuff. They want to crack at it before it actually has any public exposure. but that still leaves some of you in the position to contact them, send a PDF of your best version, hopefully something really, really close, and give that a swing. And saying what they're offering then is a review if they like what they read. They're God, who do they sell to? They sell to a lot of libraries. There are a lot of other agents, I think, that look at them and look for new book material. So Forward Magazine, Traverse, Michigan.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Sure.
And, and this does take us to another possibility as well. And I periodically get emails from various authors saying, hey, there's going to be the Tucson Book Fair. Are you guys going to have a table there? And of course, Tom doesn't feel that in most cases these are fruitful endeavors, but to tag along with some business that's going to be at a book conference is a possibility as well. There are, small organizations that, you might call them publishers, or you might call them distributors or marketers. I'm not sure the exact term. And they'll essentially put your book on their table at that event for X amount of dollars. Okay. The thought is that these events highlight to a lot of readers and purchasers of books. So if your book is on somebody's table who's a marketer, well, then you've got a chance of being found. I've often thought that it would be really cool for us to do the Tucson Book Fair and to have a series of authors that show up and actually do a reading or an interview during the event. And so that we have a whole calendar of events that happen during the conference and or the convention, and see what happens. A lot of in the publishing and book marketing industry, there are new trends happening daily. I mean, what didn't work yesterday might work today or tomorrow. What worked yesterday may not work anymore today or tomorrow. So we're always, looking at, possible alternatives in this game of marketing our book. And there are huge amounts of opportunities. The problem is that most of these opportunities cost something. And if you, just spent on everything that you found to market your book, some of that money you'd be throwing away. Okay, so it's like, well, what works? What will work? Is it inexpensive enough to try? And I always tell the authors to think in these terms, okay? If I have to pay $100 to market in my book through some channel, how many books do I need to sell as a result of that? So if I get $5 per Amazon sale and I'm marketing to something that's going to push my Amazon sales, cost me $100, well, that means I'm going to need to sell 20 books as a result of that marketing program. And, when you think, well, 20 books, that sounds reasonable. Okay, if it was 2,000 books, to cover my cost, I'd be like, ooh, boy, that's going to be, I'd want to be darn sure that, I'm going to make those kind of numbers if I take that opportunity. So you really need to, to think about those sorts of things in terms of sales. How many sales do I need to make to cover my costs? And if you do that, then, well, if it costs 100 book sales, boy, is that realistic? Is 10 book sales realistic? What is realistic? And of course, you know, you may not be able to discern whether it will pan out or not. So you kind of, you know, have to trust in their marketing representative that you're talking to. Assures you, oh, we'll sell 10,000 books as a result of you joining our program. Well, okay, you know, if they have a good argument for that, well, then it might be convincing. But if they don't have a strong argument for those kind of expenditures, I would shy away from them. You know, as I say, I'm on tons of mailing lists. I get a lot of information. I am aware of a lot of different, you know, representatives who will be more than happy to take my money and sell my book for me. Will they pan out to be anything useful? In most cases, you know, I really don't have that extra money to invest in such a program. Now, there is another approach that some places like Changing Hands bookstores do allow. Since it costs $300 to do a book signing in Changing Hands bookstore, they have broken it up. Well, if I get 2 other authors to go with me, it still costs like $300, but then we can shed the cost and each pay $100 and get that same, you know, Saturday afternoon. But now there's 3 of us as opposed to just 1 of us. And, you know, there are plenty of opportunities at very low cost for us to do book signing opportunities. One of the things that I shy away from is the expenditure, okay? Renting a room and doing a specific book signing party. Okay, that to me seems like it won't pan out unless you know a huge number of people. You know, if you've been teaching yoga for, you know, the last 30 years in your community and you have a mailing list of thousands of people, if you organize a book signing in your studio, then, you know, it could pan out. But you heard me say in your studio. I didn't say go to the ballroom at that hotel and rent that ballroom and have a party book signing. Okay, you know, we do need to be creative in this process. So I look at events that are already happening, that are already collecting people in one place. You know, I think that Leland, who writes the kids' books, is in a lot of like craft fair environments. He feels that, you know, well, this is a you know, reasonably inexpensive approach to get his book in front of people. When I go to the farmers market here in Captain Cook, there's a guy that sells his 3 books that he's written, you know, on Hawaii. I haven't seen him sell any of those books, but I see them there, and I've spoken to him a few times. So there are environments like that that are possible. Coffee shops. Many coffee shops are willing to allow you to schedule an event. Sometimes they charge you for it, sometimes they don't. You know, they get more people into their shop to buy coffee. You get people to, you know, come and learn about your book. It's a win-win situation. Adult community centers are another thing. You know, they're always looking for events that they can put on that will attract, you know, their community. And they may, you know, want a percentage of your sales, or they may want you to, you know, pay something for the room that you're, you know, they're going to offer you. It can go either way. There are all kinds of creative ways for us to start pushing on, you know, marketing outside of Amazon. Okay, it's really easy for us to write our book, get Rama to you know, get it uploaded to CreateSpace, get Denise to optimize it on Amazon and Kindle, and then to sit back and you know, count the money. I mean, that's everyone's dream. I get it, but The reality is that probably isn't going to pan out to huge numbers of sales right away, especially. So we want to create buzz and momentum behind our marketing approach, and we do need to think about going outside of the box. We had Ashira speak last week about open mic and poetry readings and things like that. That was perfect for her, her genre of what she does. Okay. That might not be good for Rama, although, my book is kind of a comedy. So, going to an open mic and reading something funny might work out. I read part of my book at a memorial service for a friend of mine who actually was in the book, and I read the 2 paragraphs about him at that memorial service, and I brought a little bit of levity to a really sad time for us. And so did I get any sales from it? No, but it really felt good to do it. So sometimes just doing that, and then, the 150 people that were at that event then knew there was a book about mountain biking that someone they knew wrote. So whether anyone actually bought a book from a situation like that or not, I have no idea. But anytime we have the opportunity to get in front of people to either read about our book or talk about our book, we become better at talking about the book. And we have the opportunity to get that book in front of somebody who could make a difference. You've all heard me say this, that we never know which activity, which person that we speak to about our book is going to be that one person that we get a big break out of. We find yourself in a magazine. We find that they know somebody that is plugged into the book industry, and the next thing you know, 10,000 books are sold as a result of just talking to that one person. So lots of opportunities are out there for us. We do need to take the box away and really think outside of the traditional ways. As much as we like to think that book writing is a traditional business, I think that the print-on-demand, independent publishing component of the book industry is just now starting to flourish. And I've seen bookstores open up that only will purchase independent books. There is a trend. People love books, regardless of whether they're traditional press books or books from vanity presses. People are very interested in books. Writing a book is a huge accomplishment, as many of you are finding out along the way. That it's not a simple process, and we a lot of times disregard how monumental occurrence it is, because we do it and hey, I wrote my book and we're really pleased and we're happy, but we don't recognize to the 99% that didn't write a book how impressed they are with the fact that we wrote a book. So we want to take advantage of that kind of situation. For those of you who don't have your books printed yet, you will know that you don't go anywhere without a copy of your book. Even in Hawaii, I've got a copy of my book here. Okay? This actually, I think it's the last one that I have. I've gone through 3 boxes of 300 books now. So, what happens is that we don't go anywhere without a little box in the car with our books. We don't go on a trip without carrying a few books in hand. And as you get deeper into this process, you don't have any qualms about giving books away. It's something that becomes part of our budget. And I think that if we look at our marketing, if we budget for marketing, one of the things in that budget is giving print version of our books away. And that's just a fact of life. And as I say, at first, you're saying, oh, I don't want to give any of my books away. I spent all this money, I have to get every penny I can out of it. And at first that's kind of a natural approach. We think that way. But as we get deeper down, 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months into it, we start to think a little differently, because we start to see how we can have successes through giving one book away. Of course, if we can give the ebook away, then that is better for us because it doesn't have the production cost, the $2 to $4 involved, and that comes out of our pocket. So, we want to look at budgeting for marketing, which probably will be a topic for another webinar where we actually start looking at, what are logical expenses that we can, benefit from. So, that's kind of my conversation on book clubs, bulk book sales, specialty book marketing, book blog tours, and the like. So if there are questions or comments, this would be a good time to unmute yourself. If there is anyone that has been part of a book club, I'd like to, have the opportunity for you to speak and to tell about the situation and maybe what types of books were picked, what you did in a book club, and things like that. So at the same time, I'm going to go look for my questions that Lynn Cochran Murphy had prepared for her book so that we can kind of see. Jean, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have a comment?
I'd love to hear if anyone has had good luck with meetup groups. I get a lot of emails for invitations to meetup groups, and it seems to take a bit of time. And in Atlanta, it takes at least half an hour to commute anywhere. So I didn't know if some of these groups were very positive and open to and good for authors. Sometimes Tom has suggested not getting too involved in other author groups because they may pull you down or be a bit negative. So if anyone's found a great one.
I went to one here in Atlanta, Jean. One of the meetup groups, they had a thing at, how the Four Seasons has that chocolate buffet every March on Sundays, and that special chocolate buffet at the Four Seasons. And I really wanted to go that, and it was the girls' night out or something. I went and I was extremely out of place. I felt very awkward. The people that were sitting around the table were talking about these reality shows that I didn't even know the names of them. So it was kind of weird. The only good thing about the night was that I got to meet Clint Eastwood. So he was there at the chocolate thing. And then I've been to another couple of the girls' night outs. It was a girls' night out in addition to some other couple of groups that they put together, and it was at a nightclub in Buckhead, and you got into the nightclub early, and it was just kind of awkward meeting people. But once everybody got a couple of drinks or whatever, the girls were a lot of fun that night, and everybody was just dancing. A lot of the girls are they're married and have boyfriends and stuff, and they're just meeting to hang out and dance and be crazy on the dance floor because nobody cares. So that was fun. But the single guys that were part of the group, there was some kind of single meetup group that was part of that group. That was a little awkward because the guys were kind of off, and I wasn't there to meet a guy. I just wanted to go and have fun and dance. So those are the only kind of ones that I've been to here in Atlanta. But you're right, it takes so long to get somewhere here in Atlanta. Most of the time I don't even bother. I looked at a bunch of them and I just was like, nah, forget it.
Okay, well, maybe Heather will talk offline about creating our own Atlanta writers, Tom.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Gene, I just want to clarify, what Tom said and why. Okay, Tom is against writers groups, writing groups, as opposed to book clubs or gatherings about books. Okay, and the reason why he mentions this, and if anyone has been to any of these kind of groups, they know essentially what happens in these writers groups is that people come and you read part of your book and everyone criticizes you. Okay, and that only can be productive for the right type of person. And when we have specific instructions for writers groups, and that's one of the things that we are adamant in the description, is that we're not here to criticize other authors, okay? We're here to be positive about the writing experience. So that's one of the things that Tom has found, in that most traditional writing groups they're just not productive. They may think they are, but they really aren't. And so that's his rub. And, unfortunately, Tom Bird's method is very anti-traditional writing. So if you go to a traditional writers group and you tell them how you wrote your book, they're going to basically tell you, all those left brain things that you've pushed aside, that, well, how could you write a book that way? And, you can't develop your character, you can't, and stuff like that. So you'll be rubbing them kind of the wrong way with your approach. And of course, if they, hear that you can write a book in a weekend and they've spent 10 years writing their book, that's really not going to make them feel too good either. So we are at conflict with a lot of, traditional approaches to writing. So as I say, that's why Tom has us stay away from the writers groups. But a book club is kind of different, because those are more readers groups than writers groups. Not to say that it can't fall into the same sort of criticism type environment. So it's good to maybe check out the group before you offer up your book for it.
Thank you.
Dolores, do you have a comment?
Well, I have a question. I talked to a local woman who belongs to a book club. They get together once a month and they pick a book and they read it, and then they gather together and they just talk about the book. So I asked her a few weeks ago if how they selected their books, and she said that each individual participant hosts the session where they're going to talk about the book. They get the books, they read them, and then they go to that person's house and they talk about them. So what I asked her was, could I be the book of the month? And she said, yeah. She said she'd host it and she would sponsor the book. And so it's going to happen on the 16th of September. And I wanted to figure out how to get them copies, because my book's not going to be released until the 17th. And how do I get them copies of that book? It's 10 people in all, so it's not a lot of books. But I was trying to figure out how to do that. And then they want me there, when they actually do the reviews or the discussion. So I don't know whether that's a prudent thing to do or not, but it's done. So,
I think that it'll be a great experience for you. Okay, I think that adding the author there at a situation like you're talking about is a marvelous thing for both the reader and for the author. Now, just to give you the kind of the technical component of how you get the books there. Just because your book isn't going to be released until a certain day does not mean that it isn't available prior to that. Okay, even when when you get your physical proof, you could order 10 copies of that right at that point in time, and have them delivered to your house, and you could then drop them off to people, or have them stop by, or whatever. So you could create something like that. Now, that would probably be the easiest component, is to order up them with your proof copies, or if you have enough time in the situation, after you order your proof copy, you approve your book, and at that point you can order your 10, 20 copies and give them away. Or you could theoretically order customer A a book and have it sent right to their house, and customer B and customer C, and just have them delivered that way. One way you'd probably be spending $10 per book because of the delivery on top of production costs. The other way, you would be, ordering them in bulk and having to deliver them personally or have them pick it up. So, one of those two approaches you could certainly, follow through on. Okay.
Okay.
It sounds like Dolores has, kind of found her niche with a book club. So I wanted to give her the thumbs up on that. That's a great first step. And, I think that there are other authors that might want to pursue that same approach. Now, of course, we're going to ask you to talk about the experience afterwards as well, so you can share what you learned from it, because it probably is going to turn out really good, but you're probably going to have some insights that you might, have learned that next time you do it, you're going to do it this way or something like that. And,
well, what I was also told that there's another author that would like that same opportunity at some point, and I was asked if I would be willing to come and participate when that author does her thing. So I'm thinking, we could expand this and get a lot more readership. And these are people that worked here locally here in Los Alamos and Santa Fe, and a lot of them are scientists and professional people, business people, and so on. So I'm guessing the readership could grow somewhat exponentially just because of the contacts that they have. So, I mean, like you said, it could be a good thing. I'm looking forward to it.
The way I say it, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I think that for us as authors, we really have to take that, home with us, because we do tend to just want to write books and not, really get out in the public to, to market it. And there are associations that are not book-related associations that we may opt to want to be part of. If we're into gardening, there are gardening associations in virtually every community in America. And, these are people that read books. These are people that, could be our customers. I've told this story as well. If I hadn't written my Sedona mountain biking book, I would have never bothered to become president of one of the bike clubs at this point in time. I just wouldn't have bothered. And by doing so, even though it's only 70 people, there's 70 people that know I have a book out there now and know who I am, even though most of them knew me prior. It's kind of getting back up in front of them again. Just to show them what I'm doing now. So, we can take a look at what associations are in our community that we have interests in. There's a lot of different things. One way is using those meetup groups, and I'm on a number of lists with those, but I've never actually gone to any events of any of the meetups that I've joined. So I can't give you direct experience, but one day I'll do one of the steampunk meetups down in Phoenix, and hopefully by then I'll have a steampunk novel in the works, and I can talk about that. But, there are lots of opportunities for us to get involved with, civic organizations in our community, specialty organizations in our community. In Sedona, the Adult Community Center would be a great spot to get in front of people and to get space. I don't know about in Albuquerque area or Santa Fe area, what would be the best opportunities, but we do we can benefit from kind of checking things out and seeing what's offered and trying a few things, and always having copies of our books. And when we put that name tag on, we want to put Jack Terry author. It was such a natural one when Jack told me about that. He used to go to network meetings 6 or 7 times a week down in Phoenix. And, they always had, name tags. Well, he got the bright idea to make his own name tag, and he put author after his name. So instead of, him telling people that, he was writing a book or written a book, they would ask him, what's the book about? Very smart guy, Jack. So, we can be part of lots of different community organizations and get the word out there subtly without having to be a hardcore marketer. James Parker, you have a question?
Well, yeah, it's not exactly about what you're talking about, but it affects everything you've talked about, if that makes any sense. Today, I looked at our emails. I got it about 2 hours ago from Denise Casino, and I just wanted to get your opinion on this because she says hi everyone, but I know she's talking directly to me. Anyway, it says, I want to tell all of you that if you notify all of your friends and family of your book released prior to our launch, it's highly unlikely that you'll get a #1 bestseller. Someone just did that. The Amazon page wasn't ready. The book is not yet in categories. The ebook and paperback are not linked on the pages. I don't know what that means. Nothing is ready, but there have been lots of sales and would have benefited our launch, but won't because the launch is weeks away. Please do not do this if you want a #1 bestseller. So, I've done it. I don't know if she's really talking about me or not. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, when do we do all this sales stuff and launch? I just don't quite know. It's like my launch is coming up on September 24th. Now, does she look at sales by month? So I would only have like a week in September, or?
Okay, now when you're talking about Denise's launch, essentially, she wants all the momentum behind that launch. So essentially, if you, like we talked the other day, James, that with the couple of Facebook groups that you found that have, thousands of members, you would want to try to coordinate that with the actual launch time. Okay? So that they go during that period of time, and you during that 6 days, that is kind of how you're going to hit that #1. So if you were to talk to those people, 2 weeks before your launch, and they all went to your and purchased your book, you wouldn't necessarily benefit as much from their purchases as if you would if you had coordinated it with the timeline of Denise's launch. Okay. And so that's essentially what she's referring to. And James, she's not really referring to you. She's referring to all of us, okay? Because I tell you, once we have our book in hand, we don't have a brain anymore, right? We got our book, we got to sell it now, right? And it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, I remember as soon as my book was available, I posted it up on Facebook, and within 30 seconds, a dozen books were sold. I mean, literally, as soon as I posted, people were, oh my gosh, I need a copy of this thing. Well, I'd primed the pump and had shown parts of it, for the last, several months prior to that. So I had, people knew that it was coming out, and they'd seen the cover picture, they'd read the disclaimer, they'd read the intro, but it wasn't until the book was available that they could actually buy it. Right. And so, I pushed that envelope, and, that was a great sales channel for me initially for my book. But, coordinating with Denise is important. So for you authors that are working with Denise, you really want to coordinate your events where you might have a large group of people that you could leverage. You want to utilize them during the book launch as effectively as you can. And keep in mind, much to our chagrin, Denise's Amazon, any Amazon #1 book launch is a combination of sales and activity, clicks, and being there on your page and stuff like that. It does not necessarily lead to a huge number of sales, but it does lead to sales and it does lead to activity. So, you want to try to coordinate anything that you have that's, that you can with Denise's launch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I didn't know.
That's okay.
Ignorance.
Well, that's okay, and just to ease everyone's mind, and I did this for a reason. I needed to be like the worst author in our program. Denise was able to get my book as a #1 Amazon bestseller, and I really did very little with it. I did post on my Facebook pages that there was a launch going on, and I did give away, a half dozen ebooks during that time. But I didn't do a lot of the tweeting that Denise teaches us about. Although she continues to tweet for me and stuff like that. So you can become #1 without having to do anything.
Well, I think where my misunderstanding may have come in is Denise assigned me all this tweeting stuff to do, and I thought, well, I've got to do as much selling and tweeting as possible, and I just thought everything else went along with that, but I guess I got that wrong.
Well, that's okay, James. In the realm of the number of people that are following you on Twitter, it's probably not a huge number compared to Denise's huge numbers. Mm-hmm. So, it's good to get involved and to experiment. And as I say, it probably isn't going to be hugely, detrimental to your launch. Now, those two groups that you mentioned that have, 3,000 and 4,000 people, those I would want to coordinate with, with the Denise launch. So what I remember telling you is that you kind of want to start messaging the person that's in charge of those groups and let them know what's going on and what you'd like them to do. Or you'd like to be able to leverage the group a little bit for, okay?
Okay. So now if my ebook gets out there, I still put it out there, but I just don't advertise it too much unless it's with the book launch. Is that right?
Yeah. It is true that, you don't want to push too far ahead of the launch. On the other hand, there are situations where, you can get a different benefit from giving away or pushing an ebook, and that's to get a testimonial or review in place. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of this balancing act that you have, because those reviews on Amazon will help the book launch that Denise does. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of, you're kind of juggling things at this point.
So you're saying you've got to give a few away or sell a few to get the reviews so that you can coordinate that with Denise's launch too, where you already have reviews and the person doesn't look at the reviews and there's nothing there.
That's essentially it. And, I remember that when I was doing my launch with Denise, we were kind of stuck at number, I think, 4 for a while in one of the categories. So we looked at who was ahead, and we realized that a couple of the books ahead of me had like 1,000 reviews or 200 or 300 reviews. And those are hard books to push out of the #1 slot. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, gave us a little insight into why we were getting stuck in certain places. And I think that was, we found another category that, didn't have that kind of situation. But, to get to number 3 in a broad category like mountain biking was quite an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I took that as a good feather in my cap, even though, I think I only had 10 or 12 reviews compared to 200, 300, 400 reviews.
So is it better to have all 5 reviews, 5 stars, or is it better to have kind of a mixture where maybe there's more 5 stars than 4 stars or something like that? But does that influence the reader?
It's good to get those 5-star reviews, James. I don't think that a 4-star review hurts you. So, there are situations that, aren't great, but still might be good. I mean, even a poor rating might still be a good review. They rated it wrong for, maybe it took so long for them to get the book, they ordered it and it didn't arrive, and that's why they gave you a 1-star review. So, people don't always just look at the stars, they look at the content.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think I heard Deb McTiernan had 32 5-star reviews up now, and I don't know. I think Catherine Carrigan has around the same number of 5-star reviews. But I think those are our most prolific, reviewed authors in the program. I kind of got stuck at 10 or 12. And I haven't pushed that hard on my crew to get more of them to actually log into Amazon. And there is the glitch on Amazon that Denise identified, that Amazon has somehow decided that people who are your friends and family can't provide a review on Amazon for you. And of course, we want to all ask the same question. Well, how do they know that they're friends or family? And what we're asking is, how does Amazon know? Come on, they know what we're thinking before we're thinking it. So it's not really how. It's like, can we block this effort? And so I think there was a petition that was up about signing, to block Amazon from moving in this direction. And I know that we have had authors have problems posting reviews for other authors in our group. Somehow or another, Amazon sees a connection and for some reason has blocked that from happening.
Yeah, they did that to a friend of mine. They knew the friend, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they do all that stuff, but if anyone encounters a similar situation, as a backup, get them to send you the review so that you can post it on your social media and on your website. If you can't get it on Amazon, the next best place is to post it on your social media, put it up on your website. These are good places to post it. And even if you do get a review on Amazon, it's good to post it in your website and on your social media as well. And then there is the Amazon Author Central page, which is not a place where authors post the review themselves. It's a place where you can post stuff. So you can post someone's review that didn't get up on Amazon per se. So you can work that method as well. And Denise can help you with all that kind of stuff. And then Denise uses those reviews in her tweets, in her picture tweets. She'll put up components of that and tweet that out for you. So lots of ways of repackaging information. Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, Anaria had actually, referring to her question, she was asking about disclaimers. I'm not sure what she meant. Sounded like something that might be interesting to the rest of them. Certainly something I want to know about. Anaria, would you mind explaining?
Yeah, okay, she's on. Okay.
There we go. Rama had just mentioned earlier that he put out several different things before the launch of his book, and that one of them was the disclaimer. And I wanted to know about that and why you would actually put the disclaimer out, Rama, and why would people be interested in it?
Well, in my case, the disclaimer was the best part of my book. It was a funny disclaimer. It was an afterthought. When I was putting the final touches on the book, I realized that some of the information that I wrote about could get people in trouble. And so, and one of my friends was in a lawsuit with the Forest Service at that moment in time. And, I didn't want to give the Forest Service anything that they could legally use against him. So I did, and I'll read it real quickly so you can see it. This was just something that I did as a fun thing. And this is my disclaimer. I have a disclaimer page. Okay, now I also have a standard disclaimer that I put on the copyright page, but this was a fun thing that I did. Due to the extremely controversial nature of mountain biking, especially in the overcharged political atmosphere of Sedona, I've decided to include this disclaimer. This is a story about a fictitious sport in a fictitious land named Sedona. The characters are not intended to represent real people, and the acts attributed to the characters never happened. Okay, now there's a little bit more I didn't want to read on that. That was a very funny thing, and for my audience, they liked it. Okay, now you could do something similar with the Crystal Skulls. You could have the Crystal Skulls write a disclaimer, right? And you can put it there, make it cute and funny, and something like that has legs, okay? So if you were to post something like that to your social media, you could get a lot of play early on before your book was available even, okay? Yeah. So, those are strategies that, I kind of just came up with that, it was a brainstorm. As I say, there was a lawsuit going on, and I felt the need to cover my friend's butt, so to speak, by just making it impossible for the Forest Service to use anything in court. Because, if they tried to, the disclaimer would come into effect. Well, how could you use it in court? It says right here that this isn't true. So those are, that's just kind of a fun approach to life that I used.
And I remembered reading it now, and I really chuckled on it and thought, oh, he's really covering his butt on where they were going to go mountain biking to make sure that but also keeping it funny, which I always appreciate.
Well, when I did get the write-up in Mountain Flyer magazine, in that article, the author mentioned something about the disingenuous disclaimer. It said something like, even though there's this disingenuous disclaimer, there's no reason to believe that this stuff wasn't true, or something like that. Right. It came in and was an effective tool for me.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, any other comments before I go to breakfast today?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was supposed to remind you about the copy edit.
Once I'm off, I will take a look and see if I got it in the email. If I did, I'll send it off to you, okay?
All right, thank you.
The style editor, if my book just went to the style editor, you've got that it may come back by the 27th. So you really think it's going to take that long?
Yes. It may come in a couple of days ahead of time, but the gal that I sent it to is a little slower reader than the other gal, but I thought it was very important to send it to this one.
Okay.
So, just be patient, and it'll show up, and you'll enjoy reading about it. Okay.
When that's done, and then she has her comments, do I talk to her personally and go talk about a few things, or do I just make some decisions and move forward?
You know what I normally do is I will, if you feel the need to speak to Tom about the style evaluation, I will set up a call. Most times, what I've noticed is that the authors, readily agree with what the style editor has identified, but may not know how to incorporate those changes, and that is one of Tom's fortes. So, I'd say that in 3/4 of the cases, I set up a call with Tom as a result of that.
I see. Okay.
Ashira.
Yeah. So I have a comment about writers groups. Because I go to one, and I found them very helpful, and I never get criticized almost ever. Everybody usually criticizes everybody else. Maybe they don't criticize me. And they, it's just true. I mean, I wish I'd get more feedback sometimes, but that was in another group. Now I'm in a group that even when I do my perfect thing, I still get some feedback, and people clap and laugh, and I get great response and feedback that isn't criticism. And I don't find that I need to tell people anything about what my writing process is. And in fact, I've been in a group where somebody asked about how I did, what I did, but she didn't ask me. She asked the group leader, like as if the leader would know, which obviously she wouldn't. And, because I don't know, she was too shy or embarrassed or whatever, I'm guessing, to ask me. It was really weird. But anyway, so I'm just saying, like, that's my personal experience, but I don't think that there's no reason, even if people ask you, for you to share what your writing process is. You don't have to make people feel bad that they've been writing something for 10 years and you did it in a weekend. You know what I mean? There's just no, you have to, unless you don't know how not to do that, and you feel some kind of a impulse and impetus to just reveal all of that, there should be some other way to share something without saying exactly that.
Thank you, Ashir. I think that that's actually good advice, because, number one, you don't want to make them feel bad about how long it's taken them. And, without the, real instruction behind what we do, you may not be able to replicate it. So unless, you've got, some other reason, why open up Pandora's box, so to speak.
Right, exactly. And there's one thing, I had another thought about it, which is you could say a little something. You could just say, well, I breathe. I just find that breathing really helps me. When I have a block, I just breathe through it. And that's pretty general, and it's not, it's not specific. It's not mentioning names, whatever. It's not problematic, I think.
Thank you, Ashir. That's as I say, I think that's good advice. When you're working with other people in groups, you have to read the group and know sometimes what's appropriate to say at the appropriate time. So that's great advice. Mary, you've unmuted yourself.
Yeah, we're at the end of the talk, so I hope people don't mind if I ask something personal about my book, but you're going through the process, you may get there sooner or later too. First of all, I'm really excited because Denise just sent me my landing page and it looks great. I'm just really excited. It was only, oh shoot, did I always get out of there? It was only last night, Rama, that I had a chance to upload that corrected version of my interior. And looks like that page disappeared already. Anyway, so they sent the thing back and I did the digital approval today. And then I saw a page pop up. I've put so many corrected versions up now. And I saw a page come up that I've never seen come up before, which I was saving, but now it seems like that has gone away. Because I wanted to ask you before I got off it. They're saying, do you want to publish this on Kindle? But if you go to Amazon, it's already up on Kindle. Do I say I want to publish it on Kindle to get it into Create Space Kindle?
No.
Because they're still showing the red circle with the white line as incomplete on Publish on Kindle.
Okay, what I suspect happened was that Denise went to KDP Publishing directly instead of through the doorway. We like to think that because all these companies are owned by Amazon, that they actually communicate with each other, and I don't think that that's true. Okay,
Right.
so just ignore that. As long as you're up on Kindle, then everything is set. Okay?
Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Big time.
Okay, and just to reiterate, next week Mary is going to be doing her interview, and Mary is just like all the other authors. She said, "Well, Rama, are you going to give me a list of questions that I can prepare for?" And I said, "Oh no, our interviews aren't at all like that, Mary. Forget it. No questions. I know enough about you and your book to keep the ball going." This is a very informal approach. One of the things that my goal is with these interviews is to help the author get familiar with talking about themselves in their book, get comfortable about that. And as a growth on top of that, we're going to be, kind of introducing some blogging and some hashtags so that we can create a little bit of momentum in front of her launch. And it's an experiment. So it may turn out that nothing results from it other than there's a lot more stuff about Mary Stevenson online than there was prior, which can't hurt. So we'll see, and it may take some fine tuning to determine, how we can help each other on these launches, because we have a series of launches in September and October, and if we can help each other, get to that number one, then that's a great thing that the group can do to help each other.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Augie down in Tucson here.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been kind of sitting in the back here, acting like a sponge and absorbing all this good information, and it is phenomenal. I tell you, compared to what other authors on the outside have available to them, this is extraordinary. I tell you, Rama, you're doing a phenomenal job here. And I want to make one comment up and beyond, and that is that I'm doing a lot of radio shows, and that sells books. And it is simple. I didn't say easy, it's simple. Yeah. Because all you really have to do is to call a radio station, say, hey, I'm going to talk to the manager, I just wrote a book, and you'll get right to his desk, well, to his phone, and tell him, this is what the book is all about, can I send you some information so you can hand it over to the one on your station that you think would be more appropriate to do an interview on this, and they will do it. And as an example, I not long ago here, I was with Chip Reichenthal on Dark Matter Radio. That's an internet station. And there were 48,000 people on there. I think I sold 1,000 books that night. So you can get to these things, and it is not that hard to do. Yesterday, I was interviewed by a guy over in England. And I don't know what's going to happen from that one yet, but there was quite a few people on that station. Of course, I've come from Europe, so I am a little more familiar with it over there, so I kind of know my way around a little bit more. But you can get overseas stations as well. You get them through the internet. I got that one through Facebook. And if you go to Facebook and start snooping around, you'll find all these talk show hosts. And they're right there. Contact them. Send them a private message. Half of them will answer the first time, and the second half they will get to you if you probe them a little bit, 2 or 3 times. They'll answer you, and they will. If they don't make the decision, they will get you to the one within the station that do make the decisions to put guests on. So go after that, because that's the big ones are, and TV stations the same way. You don't have to be in the city that has the TV station. If you are living in Boise, Idaho, you can contact the station in Biloxi, Mississippi, and say, hey, I wrote a book, and what do you think about doing an interview? because they have this thing now where they can have a remote. They can do it right from your computer to their screen. So don't exclude that just because you're not in that city. So that's my thought, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, thank you, Augie. That was a wonderful comment. You know, one of the things that I think we fall into this trap to think that, you know, who are we to, you know, be interviewed on a radio or a TV show? And we kind of have to get over that, because all of us have that same potential, and it starts with taking that first step and trying. And thank you for sharing that, Augie. That was really, really helpful and a great way to end this this webinar. You know, again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Case in point, you know, Augie was interviewed somebody in Europe, and you know, that's a really a great thing. There's opportunities out there for us. Sometimes we have to look a little longer to find them, but they are there. And it goes back perhaps to what I mentioned in the middle of the webinar, that, well, maybe we really need to take a look at that marketing plan and build some of these components and say, well, look, I'm going to contact 100 radio shows and TV shows and build that into the plan. And, you know, out of that, if we got 20 to, you know, to give us the go-ahead, that's 20 more than we'd get if we hadn't done anything. So big time. Thanks again, Augie, and everyone, thanks for tuning in. I will be back next week with Mary Stevenson, Falling Over Reno. You know, it's a great story, and Mary will tell us a little bit about what's in the book, so we can write about it and appear knowledgeable at the same time. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Thank you, Rama. Bye, everybody.
Bye.